On Monday, the Syrian Arab Army, SAA, in cooperation with the National Defense Forces, NDF, launched a fresh offensive inside the Aleppo Governorate southeastern countryside to lift the ISIS two-year-long siege of the isolated Quaris military airbase. The Syrian armed forces have started this offensive from two different axes, as the aforementioned is targeting the terrorist group at the Jabal lakefront and the town of Ain Sabil. Thus its goal is to spread out the ISIS fighters in the Deir Hafa plateau. At the moment, the SAA and NDF took control of the two hilltops at Tal Nam and Tal Sabin, which are located just north of Jabal Lake. While the Syrian armed forces would prefer to reach the Quaris military airbase from the Deir Hafa highway, their current advance leaves them only 2 villages away from the southwestern corridor of the airport. The main objective of this offensive is to lift the siege on the Quaris military airport, but this assault also has a positive effect for the Syrian armed forces due to the Deir Hafa plateau's proximity from the Syrian government's main supply route to the Aleppo Governorate. The Syrian air forces targeted positions of the Jaish al-Islam and Jabhat al-Nusra in the surroundings of Douma city in the eastern Ghouta, Damascus countryside. Syrian military sources report about destroyed dens and vehicles of the terrorist organizations. Then, the Syrian armed forces' capture of the two hills overlooking Dayat al-Assad, while also displaying the absence of firefights inside the aforementioned area. Separately, units of the Syrian army, in cooperation with the Lebanese resistance, continued a military operation against the remaining dens of the militants in al-Zabadani city, 45 kilometers to the west of Damascus. According to media reports, they destroyed a 500-meter-long tunnel between Medea town and Medea plain. The tunnel was used by terrorist networks as a supply route for transporting arms, ammunition and food materials. Clashes have been ongoing between popular defense groups, supported by the Syrian forces, and militants in Al-Roda village in the Latakia province. Meanwhile, Washington, supported by Western media, has been arguing that Russia continues a military build-up in Syria. In numerous reports, they argue that Moscow sent an unknown number of artillery units and 7 T-90 battle tanks to support Syrian government forces. Moreover, hundreds, or maybe even thousands, of Russian troops are already present in Latakia. Thus, if we reject propaganda, we can consider that Western media has found Russian military advisors in Syria at least. Other versions of Russian direct military presence aren't proved by factual information. In turn, recent successful military actions of the Syrian government could prove the fact that Moscow has raised the amount of military assistance and supplies to Assad.